your child is 5. So 10 years from now, your daughter comes home and said, Kevin looked at me getting out of the shower. What happens next?
The relationship will have to end.
Huh?
That's not something the relationship would end immediately.
Hello everyone, it's your sister Roland, and all I need is a few minutes to go over that clip and to talk about the clip that you just saw. It was from Kevin Samuels' Instagram live show that he has. So it was probably maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And before he even started the live, he had this question that he asked, why do women want men to pay them to be women? So he put that question out there, so the people who listen to his live, the people who is his nieces and nephews and kinfolks or whatever, to answer that question. So anyway, this young lady came on, and even before she began, it was kind of like confusing in the sense the question she was asking, what do he feel about people in the industry, like bartender, dancer, and then she went to somebody who sells online. So obviously, from what she was saying, she probably was a dancer, most likely was a dancer, but she probably didn't want to say it up front because, she probably didn't want to be judged. But eventually he kind of caught on that that's what she was. And anyway, so he gave this scenario from the clip that you heard about, because she did mention she had a 5-year-old daughter. And then he was saying, if you have, of course, what he always says, if you have kids, it's over for you. You're gonna stay alone. You're gonna die alone. That's what he always says. And of course, a lot of women listen to him. You guys believe him, and you internalize the things that he says. Because I guess a lot of people think he's the relationship god. If he says you're gonna stay alone, that means you're gonna stay alone. So a lot of people believe that. But anyway, I digress. So he asked her that question, to show her. Well, he basically asked her question because he kind of figured out that she was a dancer, and on the pretense that she doesn't trust men. That's why he asked her the question about her 5-year-old daughter 10 years later, when the daughter comes and tells the mom that her boyfriend or husband or whoever it is, she came out of the shower and the person was looking at her. And of all the questions to ask to show that this woman, have trust issues with men because of probably the industry that she came from, there were so many questions that could have been asked. Why ask that question? Why ask that question? That's why this is why people is saying, that's pedo vibes, and that's because it is. Why ask that question? Yes, you want to show that she has trust issues with men. You want to show that she, her mind is whatever because of what she was doing before. But there could have been different questions. Why ask that question? A 15-year-old coming out of a shower. What kind of foolishness is this? And now I understand, because he has a so-called focus group. The focus group was supposed to be for people under 40, but he already said 40 years old. That's like danger zone. So preferably he prefers people, women actually, 25 to 37 years old. And he have to look at your profile, and so he could approve you, I guess, to be in this so-called group. And you have to be single and relationship minded, and you can't have kids. Now I understand why. Because if you're teaching, because he told the lady, because she said that, the relationship would be over. And then he's like, oh, why are you going to believe? This lady was so nice to this man. Why are you going to believe a child? Children lie. Children lie. Children lie. Saying all kind of curse words and everything. So how you gonna break up your marriage or whatever it is, relationship, because of what your child said? So, and then of course he gave another scenario. What if the child that we have together tells you that? And then, oh, you're supposed to believe, I guess, the guy, or don't believe, you're not supposed to believe the child and say, oh, you know, that's your dad. Be dismissive of the child. So he's grooming the, okay, so this focus group that he's supposed to have, if he's teaching, if he have this type of mindset that if a child says something like this, you're not supposed to believe the child. So you, and then these people don't have kids. So of course they don't have that mind, that protective mindset that you have when you have children. Well, what a lot of people are supposed to have when they have kids. Some people don't have that. So he's grooming these people. So when these women who so-called in this group, you get married or you're in a relationship, and then you have your goddaughter or you have your niece or your nephew that come over, and then God forbid this man have this some pedo energy that come upon him, and then he go and touching or doing some stuff he don't know business doing to your goddaughter, your niece and nephew, God forbid. And then that child comes and tells you, this is what Uncle so-and-so did to me. And then you, who was being programmed, who was being indoctrinated to believe children, you're not going to believe your child. And you're not gonna believe your goddaughter, excuse me. You're not gonna believe your niece or nephew, because you were indoctrinated that children lie. And whereas this could be very well true. You see, that's why he don't want no people with kids in the group. So indoctrinating people. Yes, there are children that lie. You can't deny it. You can't say it's not true. But then compared to the children that are not lying, that this is actually happening to each and every day, the children that are lying about it, it cannot compare. The numbers cannot compare to that. And usually the child who is lying is because that child is used to getting their way. And it seems that you may be a hindrance. So they're going to put out everything they got to get rid of you, even if they got to lie. But the majority of the time, this is happening. And if something like this happens, and because you've been indoctrinated to believe that kids lie, and then you don't believe this child, and it comes out that this child was telling, maybe months down the line, years down the line, that this child was actually telling the truth, whatever consequences happen to you and your man or whoever it is, whatever consequences that happen to you guys, I hope you get the full extent of it. And this is coming from somebody that something like this happened to me. I told my mother. She didn't believe me. And this was a family member. And then from I remember the day that she did not believe me, I had it was like a hatred that came upon me. I disliked my mother because she didn't believe me. She's like, oh, you're not supposed to you're not supposed to be lying on older people. That's what she told me. And I was 7 years old. It took 20 years. It was 20 years later that I was able to forgive my mother. And then she was already dead. She already passed away. And I had still had not forgiven her. But holding on to that unforgiveness, it was a lot of stuff not working out in my life. A lot of things I did not realize that they were linked together. Because as soon as I forgave her, it was a service that they had in a church that I went to. I had spoke to a woman of God and said, you have to forgive your mother. You have to forgive because it's going to be beneficial for you. And the day that I did that, it was back in 2012. All of my life unblocked. Toute la vie débloquée. Sorry if I be speaking Creole because some stuff, they just sound better in Creole. I don't know. a lot of stuff that I couldn't work. I didn't have papers. A lot of stuff open. A lot of doors open. That may not be everybody else's story, but that was my story because I had to forgive because something happened to me and nobody believed me. My mother didn't believe me. So yes, there are kids that lie. Trust me, I know they be lying. But then there are kids that are not lying. And first of all, number one, I would not put my child in a position to be having to lie on anybody. Because sometimes, especially if you have children, because he's like, oh, if you have a child, that child is a liability. That's not an asset, whatever. Because, it's like the things that he teach, everything has to cater to the man. What are you supposed to bring for me? Whatever. So, of course, I'm not going to put my child in a position for something like that to happen to them anyway. Because majority of times, we introduce people to our children before time. You haven't even vetted this person, and this person all up in your house, all up on your kids, all up in the what kind of foolishness this is. And I always have people say, oh, he's here to help, he want to help. But if he really wanted to help this young lady, because you could tell that yes, she does have trust issues with men for whatever reason it may that may have occurred in her life. He could have told her, that's just an example. I see some stuff going on. I see, you have some issues. If you want further elaboration, we could have a meeting or whatever, consultation. I don't know whatever he does, and I can explain to you more. Or I do that at this a certain price, but I'm willing to give you a discount because I want to help you or whatever. If he was really wanted to help, that's what he would have done. But what he put it out there, put it out there. Oh yeah, watch out for this one. She got issues, and man, you better watch out for her. Even though this lady was so nice to him, she tried to be so polite. Even before she came on, she was like, oh, I like your show. I always watch all your videos, and I respect what you say. He still went off on her. He still put her business out there. How you trying to help? Tell me, how you trying to help? And I remember I heard Pastor G. Craig said that he asked God to show him, because he was a youth pastor at the time, to show him when his youths are into adult activities, and then God gave them that ability. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, God, I want to have the ability, because I'm raising 2 girls. I want to have the ability to see people who have pedo vibes, who have that on them. Because sometimes, trust me, sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes you can't tell for real. Some people, yeah, you can automatically, oh yeah, that one, oh yeah, he looks like. But some of these people out here, you will never know. You have to see beyond the handsomeness, the money, the good looks, the good clothes, the intellectual talk, even the spiritual talk. You have to see beyond that. And that's what God did. That's what God did for me, so I can be able to better protect my children. And I don't care even if I had boys, because I have nephews, I have little cousins. And I see, and it's not only for men too. It's the women out here preying on these kids. Trust me, you'll be shocked. Look what happens, and it doesn't only happen in the schools. So this was very disgusting, especially the question that was asked. I'm thinking. Are you speaking from, experience? Why ask that question? You could have asked any other question, but you chose that question. A child coming out of the shower. And then you wonder why people be saying stuff. If you have children, your child comes and tell you something like that, if you don't know your child, because some of us, we don't know our children. Some stuff you already know with the child come, you know they lying. You already know because you know your child. But if you don't know your child, you're going to have to do an investigation. And when you do your investigation, whatever comes, whatever you find out, you need to do something swiftly about it. Because of my mother's, because the fact that she did not believe what I said, it was a lot of stuff that I missed out on, a lot of things that she could have she wanted to teach me, because she was a very good cook and different things like that, but I could not receive from her because I had a hatred for her because she did not believe me. So as a lot of mistakes that I made in my life, I probably wouldn't have made it, because she would have given me a heads up, give me some advice or whatever, but I was unable to receive. And that's why a lot of women are lost these days, because they don't have a good relationship with their mothers. They don't. So yeah, if your child comes and tells, please stop putting these kids in these type of situations, man. That's the thing. Stop putting these kids in these type of situations. You need to vet the person. Trust me, if that man or woman have those type of tendencies, before it's time for you to introduce your child to them, you'll find out if you're looking. If you're paying attention, you don't need to ask God to what I did. If you're paying attention, they will do things that show you. They will say things that show you, oh yeah, that's pedo. Stop putting your children in these situations where you have to choose between your husband or your boyfriend or whatever it may be. We need to stop. We need to vet people before they come into our lives. And even if you don't have children, you still have little kids connected to you. You still got it. Even the neighborhood kids. You may not even have, you probably was the only child. Sometimes you have the neighborhood kids that may like you and then always come and talk to you. Even that you have to watch out for. Child, this was some foolishness. Straight up foolishness. The question, you can't justify that. You could ask her any other question to prove your point that this lady had trust issues with men. But you chose that question. That is disgusting. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.